Kyle Williams getting in the mix here. I do think this skill set was something that they were missing. Honestly, I think you could make a player comparison between young Stephon Diggs and Kyle Williams, which is pretty exciting because Kyle Williams is a great separator, one of the best separators in this class, 82nd percentile success rate versus press, despite the smaller frame.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
Maybe the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Kyle Williams was the first wide receiver taken in the third round. So now we've gone through the second round. Now we're into the third round here. He was the 69th pick overall. Very nice. For New England, this is a completely and utterly revamped team, but especially from the wide receiver room, Matt, they go and add Stephon Diggs. They draft Kyle Williams, right? This is going to form a really interesting trio here with Pop Douglas. Remember, they added Matt Collins here as well. I guess my point would be, well, we'll talk about Kyle Williams first, but at some point I do want to talk about what does this mean for Jaylen Polk, who I just kind of feel like this team, new regime and all that, I feel like they're kind of sort of stiff-arming one of their high draft picks from last year too.
Yeah, potentially, but I think you need more options than fewer options at the receiver position, because I think they were counting, and the front office has said this. Elliot Wolf said, we thought Jaylen Polk was going to be instant impact. We thought he would be pro ready, which to me says, what the hell y'all coaches doing last
exactly
year? What was going on? But when he wasn't ready to, obviously was not ready to make an instant impact for, reasons. I still will just never get over the fact that Jaylen Polk blocked his ass off and caught everything in college and couldn't block for shit and couldn't catch anything his rookie year.
It was insane.
Wild. So that's just, again, something's up there. But when he wasn't ready to make an instant impact, and Kendrick Bourne coming off an ACL, they just had no, oh god, I guess Tyquan Thornton shock didn't work out. We got to play Kayshon Boutte every single snap, who they might trade now. You don't want to get
Kayshon Boutte was their starting X receiver. It's crazy. I think he actually played the most wide receiver snaps for the Patriots last year.
I believe you are correct in that. So they don't want to get back in that position where a guy who is on the roster bubble is playing every single snap. So it's better to have more options than fewer options here. So Kyle Williams getting in the mix here. I do think this skill set was something that they were missing. Honestly, I think you could make a player comparison between young Stephon Diggs and Kyle Williams, which is pretty exciting because Kyle Williams is a great separator, one of the best separators in this class, 82nd percentile success rate versus press, despite the smaller frame. He's under 6 feet.
He's 5'10", 190.
Yeah, 5'10", 190. So, I don't know that he's necessarily going to be an X or anything like that. But, again, great separator, short and underneath. Out route success rate, 83.9%. He can threaten defenses vertically there. Curl route success rate, slant route success rate, all very high. He gets open really quickly in his routes. But where he stands out, and again, that's very Stephon Diggs-ish, right? But where he stands out from all these other guys, Jaylen Polk, Pop Douglas, even Stephon Diggs at this point in his career, he breaks tackles. We talked about
freakish.
This. It's
freakish.
It's insane. He was in space on 66% of his sampled catches. He went down on first contact on 44% of those plays, broke multiple tackles on 22.2%. He just would I love a guy who confidently catches the ball and immediately turns into a yak threat. And that is what stands out with Kyle Williams and the rest of these Patriots receivers.
He's the exact opposite of Deontay Johnson, where you know how Deontay catches it and then immediately takes that one big hop back to assess the defense in front of him. And then he ends up getting tackled right where he hops back anyways. But literally a negative in the yak department was Deontay Johnson. But I'm saying Kyle Williams is completely different. He catches it, like you said, very confidently. And then he's already moving. He already knows where the defender is in relation to where he caught the football. And he's just moving away from that defender. He just has such natural instincts about where defenders are in relation to where he caught the football. Absolute freakish after the catchability for Kyle Williams. 5 seasons of college ball for him. Didn't break out until his super senior year. Nearly 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns there at Wazoo.
It's funny you brought up Deontay Johnson. Is Kyle Williams Deontay Johnson if he knew what the F to do with the ball in his hands? Deontay Johnson, if he was dialed in, because Deontay was 5'10", 183.
Right.
Like, a little bit lighter, actually. 12th percentile weight, lighter than Kyle Williams.
Damn, is he? Did we just stumble upon something
I
here?
think we might have.
Did we stumble upon
But also, like, 4'5'3" for Deontay Johnson. He definitely is, like, not a big-time athlete, whereas Kyle Williams, I do think the 40 time was much better.
Yeah,
He's
ran a
little bit
4.4
bigger.
flat,
There's
dude.
there's a reason that he but Deontay, like, gets into his routes with that broad jump as a 61st percentile. Like, he gets into his routes pretty well. But it just, again, the speed, it wasn't always there. The decisiveness wasn't always there. And that's what's really cool about Kyle Williams is good route runner. He's got the same burst off the line of scrimmage and the release that Deontay Johnson has, like, gets open very quickly, but he gets that ball in his hands and he knows what to do with it. Like, Deontay Johnson with a plan. That's Kyle Williams, which, by the way, that's pretty cool.
That's a great comp.
Yeah.
I think we stumbled on something
I think
here.
we did.
Okay, I like it, man. 73% success rate versus man in his prospect profile. 81.5% success rate versus zone in his prospect profile. Really, really good stuff. And again, when we're talking about these benchmarks, you really want to be over 70%. You really want to be over 80%. 70% versus man, 80% versus zone. He's clearing those benchmarks easily. Plus 73.5% success rate versus press coverage, Matt. That is really, really good. For a guy who is sub 200 pounds, to have that kind of success rate versus press coverage, that is really impressive.
This is what they needed. They needed a separator in this room. Getting Diggs is great, but probably short-term deal.
Yep.
At this point in his career. And, man, I just think that this is the type of guy that can succeed with Drake May. Like, Drake May, it's nice.
Got to get open quick, man.
You got to get open quick, and, like, you got to threaten in that intermediate area. And like we talked about, out routes, curls, comebacks, digs. Those are all pretty good routes for Kyle Williams.
Yeah,
that's where he lived. Did Drake May with Josh Downs at UNC, and I think they were craving that guy. Like, Pop Douglas is a strict pop gun slot receiver, short and underneath. Obviously Jaylen Polk wasn't stuff going on there. Like, so, like, we got a guy now who I think can win in the area where Drake May wants to live. I really love the idea of him working behind Stephon Diggs and learning from Diggs, who, gets a lot of crap for this, that, and the other, but is willing to invest and teach young receivers, and has always been lauded for his what he does in the locker room from, like, a leadership perspective, especially early on. Yeah. So he'll be. I think that him learning from Steph Diggs is pretty cool to think about.
Good. Bottom line is, I love what New England has done, but they still need a little bit of vertical speed. I don't think they have that guy yet. We'll find out whether Kyle Williams can give them that. Over the top. I know he was pretty successful at Wazoo, but will that translate at the NFL level? I'm not 100% sure, but he's a great player.
Yeah.
You pair him with Stephon Diggs and Pop Douglas. Now we've got three guys that can get open, man.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. I think Drake May and him are going to be a good tandem. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, how many wide receivers went off the board before Kyle Williams? I mean,
6?
Yeah.
7?
I mean, like, we're talking, Jack Best, Trey Harris, Luther Burden, Jaden Higgins,
8?
Matthew Golden, Mekhi Buka, Tet McMillan, Travis Hunter. Yeah, 8 guys.
Wow.
And look, I actually, there's no one there where I'm like, oh yeah, that stinks. That was a bad pick. I think all those guys actually are fine, even though I like Kyle Williams better than Jaden Higgins. I think he's in a good spot, but it wouldn't surprise me, even though I like those guys, if there's a few players that he outproduces in the NFL.